it's Mike Costigan, your host here at Drive Show. And if you're anything like me and maybe you love cars or you bought a lot of cars or you're just thinking about buying a new car for yourself or maybe one that's new to you, there are 10 critical things you need to know to not only make sure that you get the best deal on the car you're buying, but to also keep yourself from getting ripped off on your trade. Now, something you might not know about me, in addition to my history of owning, well, a ton of exotic cars and a slew of other cars along the way, I've also been on the other side of the desk selling hundreds of these cars for a very successful, huge dealer. And in selling hundreds of cars, well, I know all the tricks and techniques that these dealers use to maximize their profit. And I also know the stupid things that buyers do that open the door for dealers to do these things. Now, listen, this video isn't about you stealing a car from a dealer. I recognize that they're there to make a profit, and I'm happy for them to do so. They're certainly not there to pass along cars from the manufacturer to me and you for nothing. They're a business. They're in business to make a profit. I just want to make sure that they don't make that maximum profit off of you or me. So right now, let's dive into the top 10 things you need to know to make sure you get a great deal and save a bunch of money on your next car purchase. And the first thing is, well, it's research, and it's the biggie. And quite honestly, nothing can protect you more than being an informed consumer. And frankly, there's no excuse for you not being informed today. Right at your fingertips is all the information that you need to arm yourself to get a really good deal. Let me show you how I use that information to negotiate and save a lot of money on cars. For instance, if I was looking for a new car, I can go right here on my computer and there's a load of websites that will tell you what you should pay. TrueCar.com is one that comes to mind. On TrueCar.com, let's say I was looking for an F-150 pickup truck from Ford. I can punch that in. It's going to show me the average MSRP and the average price that most people are paying for that pickup truck in my area. So when I go into the dealer, I just shoot to be a little bit below that, and I know that I've gotten a reasonably good deal, and I feel pretty good. Now, even if I don't find the exact MSRP of the truck I'm looking at, maybe I've got more options, I can at very least look at the average percentage discount that these dealers are giving on that truck, and I can just factor that into my MSRP and feel pretty good. Same with your used cars. There's websites like Carfax.com. They'll tell you the average price people have been paying for similar used cars. Now, you can't really match an exact used car like you can a new car because there's different variables like mileage and condition and stupid things people do to cars, but you can get a reasonable idea of what you should pay for a similar car. By the way, this is also a very good tool to value a trade that you might have. Just look at what other people have been paying for cars like yours and figure, well, that's what yours should sell for. Bear in mind, you're going to be looking at retail prices, so allow for a little bit of a discount on your trade because wholesale is what a dealer is going to give you. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of tricks here that I've used, and certainly not with my exotic cars, but on everyday driver cars, I would go to local independent dealers. You know, these guys with the smaller lots that aren't part of the national brands. I go to them because I know that where they get their cars typically are from car auctions where they will pay wholesale, which again is what you're going to get on your trade. And they'll even go to these bigger dealers that you might be dealing with and they buy their wholesale trades that they don't want to put on their own lots so these independents can take them and sell them themselves. So I just go to them. I'll go to 3 or 4 of them and I'll say, hey, I've got a car. I'm not going to purchase one, but I've got one I'd like to get rid of. Would you be interested in buying it? And if so, what would that price be? And I take their number and I go to multiple little independents, and that gives me a pretty good idea of what I should be able to get on my car as a wholesale trade because those numbers they're giving me are also wholesale numbers. You can also go to a local CarMax if you have one in your marketplace. They'll give you a pretty good solid number for what they would actually just purchase your car for without actually selling you a new one. So that brings me to number 2. Information again. If you are buying a used car, always 100% run a Carfax report, run a auto check report, run them both, because all the time I see reports where one doesn't pick up something that the other one did. So I want a full picture of the car. Anytime a car has been involved in some sort of accident, there's been an insurance claim, it's received a ticket as a result of the accident, it usually shows up on these reports. Heck, another thing that shows up sometimes is a full maintenance history on the car. If the car's been serviced at a dealer, you often can see the service records of the car. So you might find out good things about the car. Another great tool that I use is the VinWiki app. This is a great automotive app. It allows you to punch in all of your cars, any car you've ever had, and keep a complete history, and it looks them up by VIN, including pictures. But the function that I like is that it allows anybody to take any car and any VIN and post pictures of that car online. So, God forbid the car was in a car accident. Well, somebody might have snapped pictures and put that up in the VinWiki app. And if you look it up and you see pictures of the actual damage, well, you really can't have better information at your fingertips. And you can use that information, if you're okay with buying a damaged car, to negotiate off of the sale price to compensate for the diminished value that has happened as a result of that accident. So it's a fabulous tool. Never, ever expect all the defects to be disclosed to you. Don't believe Granny has just driven the car to the grocery store 5 minutes away on a Sunday. No, her kid might have done, her grandson maybe did donuts in the car. Find out the information. It's your responsibility. Number 3, shop in person. Get off your butt and go to the dealer. Nothing lets a dealer know that you are more serious than standing there nose to nose, toes to toes with them. And while it may be tempting to just shoot over a little request for the internet price at a dealer, well, that price is BS. That price is maybe on the old little rundown car in the back of the lot, or on a new car, it's going to be the car with the lowest options that nobody really wants, and they want to bait and switch you. In fact, if I was a car salesperson working for a national brand and I knew there were 2 or 3 local stores where the exact same car would be for sale, I would give you a crazy number and I would word it in a way that was able to, that would let me weasel my way out of it, but would also get you into the dealership to shop with me. So that information is not really helpful or useful to you as a buyer looking for a car. Show up at the lot, let them know, hey, I'm here ready to buy if you can get to numbers that are acceptable to both of us. Even if you're not there to buy that day, go in there, meet people, shake hands, make yourself known, because other than exotic cars where people may stop by just to take pictures or see the cars, dealers know that most people are not going to waste their Saturday afternoon walking around a Ford lot when they could be watching football or doing something more fun, unless they are a serious car buyer. So as a result, your subsequent conversations with them are going to be of a little more serious tone, and well, let's face it, the pencil will just get a little bit sharper. And don't be emotional while you're at the dealer. Don't think that the salesperson there is your best friend because they pat your kids on the heads and offer you a cup of coffee. They are there to make the most money possible, especially the old guy who looks like grandfather who wouldn't possibly harm your family. Those are the most dangerous ones. Been in the business 30 years, they know all the tricks. They're the ones that are firing up their brand new Mercedes from all the profits they made on the 3 people before you who they took their heads off. Be smart about this. Use data. Now, I legitimately have salespeople and people who own dealerships and run dealerships that are legitimate friends of mine, but I've done business with them for years and bought lots of cars. Don't think when you walk into the dealer the first time that they're your friend. They're not. It's a business transaction. Oh, and don't walk in being a jerk. Don't say, I got this information from Mike. I learned all this stuff. You do this or I'm out of here. Nobody wants to do business with somebody like that. You're hurting your chances at a good deal and a good second or third deal with this dealer. They'll probably give you a price that is jacked up so that you're either going to be blown off the lot or they're going to take you for a lot of cash. Be reasonable, be honest, make it all business. Number 4, and I want you to take this really, really serious. Always negotiate on bottom line price on the purchase first, as if you were buying cash or doing a regular finance deal without a trade. Never, ever tell them that you have a car to trade. Never. They will all ask, and it's one of the ways that they jumble the numbers and confuse you on a transaction. So for now, and we're going to cover that in just a minute. For now, if they ask you, which most of them will, do you have a trade? Just say, I have a car that I am disposing of. I have a buyer for it already. It's a done deal. So let's just talk about this car. And also, never negotiate on payments. One of the biggest mistakes in the car industry is negotiating on payments. Let me give you an example. Let's just say I walked into a dealer and I said, just random number, I'm willing to pay $300 a month on a car. Now, a savvy salesperson is going to find cars on the lot that can be financed for a lot less than that. Let's say he finds a car that could have been financed for $250. He can then add profit to that car, raise the price, and come back to you with a payment of $290 and look like a superhero. Good news. I've got it for under $300. It's $290. You get all excited. You buy the car. You pay too much money. Oftentimes, they'll raise it to a price where even the financing company won't finance it. And they'll ask you for a big down payment. And guess where that goes? Right in their pocket, pure profit. Never shop on payment. Always shop on top line price. Now, number 5, let's get to the trade. Throw in the trade last. You can say to them, now that we've negotiated the price on the new vehicle, you know what? I think it might be easier, rather than me selling my trade as I thought, I'll just go ahead and trade it to you. So give me a number on that trade. Now, this is where it gets real, and you need to remember this term, ACV. It stands for actual cash value. What actual cash value is, it's the number that the used car manager puts on your car as the real actual cash value that the dealership thinks the car is worth. And he tells the salesperson this, and the salesperson then comes to you and says, great deal. And let me give you an example. Let's say the used car manager says, I will put a number of $20,000 on this car. Hush, hush to the salesperson. Salesperson comes to you and says, I got great news for you. We've got $18,000 for your trade. And you say, wow, that's great. I'll take it. He just added $2,000 profit to his deal, made a fatter commission because they jerked you around. It's that simple. Now you see the value in the research that you need to do up front. If you have shopped this car to other small dealers, you've done research online, you have an idea what your car is worth, if they come in low, now you can work them up. You have the ammunition. You also are seeing the value now in negotiating that purchase price of the new vehicle first and then the trade last, because the trick that dealers do is they may lower the price on that new car, making you think you're getting a great deal, but then they are scooping, we call this stealing or swiping your trade. They're scooping that trade for a lot less than it's worth, and they're in reality making a lot more profit on you on that new car. This is where a lot of money is made. It's very common for dealers to say things like, hey, you know what? We're going to swap keys for $20,000, meaning your car and 20 grand and you can have this. Or, hey, our trade difference is $20,000. The difference between the new car and your trade and the money that they need. It doesn't matter. They'll avoid talking prices, actual selling prices and purchase prices of your car, because it confuses you. And when you're confused, well, you're open to a lot more profit being made on you. So always negotiate the cash price and throw that trade in later. And if the number's off on your trade, then it keeps them honest. Then you can negotiate it up or bring that purchase price down to make up for the difference. Puts you in the driver's seat, so to speak. Okay, now I'm going to tell you to shop the deal. And I want to say, first of all, The reason for shopping the deal is to make sure that you're getting the best deal. However, I will tell you that personally, I'm okay with paying more to a dealer who takes really good care of me because there's value in that to me if it's a marginal difference in price. For instance, my exotic cars, where I buy most of my exotic cars, they take really good care of me. I have really great relationships with them. They handle service really well for me. I go to their events. They do special favors for me. I like the people. It's worth it for me to not shop them. I don't want to shop them. I want to be a loyal customer. They're good to me. It works very well. But on a regular purchase, on a typical everyday vehicle, if it's a new dealer that you have no relationship with, you would be crazy to not shop them with an identical car on the other big brand dealers. So do it. It's not personal. It's about saving money. You have the responsibility to save the money. So shop your deals. Leasing, number 7. Never go into a dealer and tell them that you are leasing a vehicle. Same principle as buying a car. Negotiate the cash price or the regular retail finance price, your purchase price of a vehicle. Negotiate that. You see, in the car business, there's a term called flipping them. Because what that means is, well, we can make more money usually on a lease in almost every case than we can on a purchase thing. So let's flip them to a lease. See, lease payments typically are lower than regular retail payments. In fact, you can often be shown a lower price lease payment and still be paying more for the car. And it's a bad deal. You don't want to do that. Look, leases are artificially supplemented. Right? You'll have an inflated residual value, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You might have a lowered interest rate, and so it makes that payment really attractive, but the overall value is not great for you. So always negotiate that price and then say, you know what, I'm thinking of leasing. Why don't you show me payments on that particular price converted to a lease? Simple as that. Go 24, 36 months. There's a few things to know about leasing, by the way. Never put a lot of money down on a lease. That money is at great risk. Leasing is normally done for people who want a low down payment, a lower monthly payment, and are willing to lease to term and then walk away. That's normally the best deal. If you put a lot of cash up front, and let's say in the short term, the car gets totaled, the car gets stolen, you're not protected. The money's gone. Even gap insurance will not protect you from that. They don't care that they've put that down. They're going to cover what they need to cover, and you're out the money. So don't put the money in. I'm not a fan of trading a car that has a lot of equity on a lease because it's the same as a big down payment. So let me explain to you a little bit about how leasing works. When your residual, a residual is the amount that you're not financing on a car. It's typically the amount that the leasing company guarantees that car will be worth and that you can buy it from them for at the end of most lease terms and most leases. It's normally inflated very, very high in order to move a car that maybe is harder to move on a regular retail purchase. The rates are supplemented and they are lowered in order to make payments seem lower. But because the residual is so high, it makes it very hard for you to ever trade out of that car at any point early in that lease because the car will rarely be worth the remainder of your payments and the residual. Both of those you have to pay if you trade the car. So it's usually designed for people who just want to walk away. And I want you to think about something. If you do decide to make this move, always go with a short-term lease. Typically, the longer that they go, the worse of a deal that they are. In my opinion, I would stick to 24, 36 months maximum. And there is a certain thing that you need to know about leasing, a term you need to be utterly familiar with. Leases are very complicated. I've leased many cars. I've always got to go through them 2 or 3 times just to understand the numbers. But most people get caught up on the low payment, but they also get stuck with this. You might ask, what is the rate I'm paying? And you know what the dealer will say to you most of the time? It's a great rate. The money factor is only 0.002. Just throwing a random number out there. And you'll go 0.002. That's a crazy low interest rate. They want you to think that that money factor is interest rate, and it is not. It's a factor used in calculating interest rate. Thus the term money factor. If you want to know your interest rate, you take money factor, 0.002, you multiply it times 2,400, that gives you the rate. I think that comes out to like 4% or something. It's a pretty good rate. On the other hand, if you're quoted a rate and you want to shop money factor from dealer to dealer, just take the interest rate, divide it by 2,400, and it will give you your money factor. Again, they're very, very confusing. The important thing to take away from this is to not go in and say, I want to lease. Go in and say, I want to buy, I have no trade, negotiate the purchase price, and then say, flip it to a lease payment for me. Now, number 8, financing, regular financing. Research here as well too. There's a term you need to know, and it's called buy rate. Buy rate is the rate that the bank or financial institution quotes to the dealer to offer to you. That's fine and great, but the dealer has leeway here. The dealer can pad that rate. So the dealer might jack that rate up. They might say, the bank might say, hey, here's the rate, comes up on their computer screen, and it might be 4.99, and the business or finance manager might look at you and say, great news, your rate is 6.99, and if you take that, they've made 2 points on you, and that profit goes right in their pocket. So there's two things at a dealer. There's front-end profit, which is the money they make on the actual deal, the sale of the new car and the trade of your car. And then there's front end, and then there's back end gross, which is the money that they make on jacking up rate and all those other little things they'll sell you, like paint protection or tire insurance and that kind of thing. I am okay with somebody making a little bit of rate on me. Frankly, they've done a good job for me in getting the deal done. Hopefully, they have gotten me, hopefully, a competitive rate. And usually you'll find that even if you allow them to make a little bit of money on that rate, and it can be arbitrary, by the way. It might be 1 point, 2 points, a quarter point, a half a point, whatever. But you're often going to find that even if they jack that rate up a little bit, make a little money for their efforts, it's still cheaper than what you can get going to your own financial institution. So why not? Just don't let them make a whole ton on you. Interest rates, by the way, buy rates, the information is out there as well too. For example, if I were buying a Porsche, I'd probably go to one of the online forums like RenList, and I'm going to find a knowledgeable purchaser who knows the buy rates of all these banks. Bear in mind, the buy rate is not the dealer's rate. It's the rate given to them by all the financial institutions with whom they have a relationship. And they get these fabulous buy rates because they push hundreds, if not thousands of cars through these different banks. So you'll want to try and find the buy rate for every bank that they use, whether it's SunTrust, Bank of America, Porsche Financial, whatever, for example. So be an informed consumer when it comes to your financing as well. Number 9, never rush. Never buy the old, hey, it's the end of the month, come in, my manager's wanting to blow some cars out, let's see if we can slide past them. Sometimes you'll get a deal that way. Most of the time, you can buy the car for the same price the next day. They're there to sell cars. They're not going to give them away just to hit a number. So a deal today is just as good tomorrow. In fact, it can often be better tomorrow. See, dealers on their new cars, most of them pay what's called a floor plan, which is financing on their own inventory, and they're paying interest on it. So the longer a car sits there, the more they pay for it and the more anxious they want to get rid of it. That's why cars that have been on the lot longer are usually the very best deals on the lot. So if you get a salesman that says, hey, the deal's good today, take it right now, you walk out that door, you can't have it, walk out the door. Go to the dealer down the street. Who cares? His loss, not yours. Sometimes they're arrogant enough to actually not honor the deal the next day. And again, who cares? Move right along to someone else. And lastly, number 10, there is no such thing as a great deal on a car that you're not in love with. Never settle. Never be swayed into buying that car, that one particular car that's the magical deal because you happen to walk through the door. Lucky you. They give that deal to everybody. Don't be pushed into something you don't like. Buy the car that you want, because if you're like me and like many buyers, you run into what's called buyer's remorse. If it's me, I'll drive the car in the first 3 days, 4 days, maybe a week. I'll be thinking this is a great car, but what if I had gotten the one that had this, the one that I really wanted, that particular color? And what's going to happen to me? I'm going to trade that car right back in, and then you're going to find out exactly why that car they sold you, other than the one you wanted, was such a great deal by the awful trade number that they're going to give you because they don't want it back. So look, find the car that's best for you. Follow all of this information and all of these tips that I've given you, and I have a pretty good idea that you're going to save a heck of a lot of money on your next car purchase, and you're going to purchase the right car for you. Hey, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can get valuable information like this that can save you money and make buying and owning these cars a heck of a lot of fun. And speaking of fun, when you subscribe, you can tag along with me on my latest adventure where I'm searching for my perfect exotic supercar keeper. I'm driving 50 of the world's greatest exotic supercars in hopes of finding the one that eventually stays in my car forever. And then I'm going to take it on some crazy shenanigans and have a lot of fun. And I want you to come along on the ride there as well too. Click the subscribe button, buckle up. This is going to be one fun ride.